Transitional Kindergarten from the state level, and then look at it more closely at the level of our specific district and, of course, our individual school sites. So Universal Transitional Kindergarten, what it does is it creates a 2-year kindergarten experience. It was first kind of signed into law in 2010 to give those students born between September and December the chance to have a year before kindergarten, or 2 years of kindergarten. Then it was kind of switched a little bit, so that just recently we are now in a place where we will have universal kindergarten for all of our students. This is new, of course. So the idea is that that in 2021, legislation was passed that all districts in the state do need to offer TK programs for all students. So that by the school year 25-26, all students who turn 4 by September 1st have access to universal kindergarten. Simi Valley Unified has accelerated that eligibility window. So we started this year what does not have to be in place until 25-26. So students who turn 4 by September 1st are eligible for our programs. If you know people in other districts, that might be a little bit different than other districts' eligibility. And that again is because we have accelerated what will happen across the state in the 25-26 school year. Okay, so the TK is separate and different than kindergarten, as well as from 1st through 12th grade. We are not following California state standards exactly. We're following the California Preschool Learning Foundations. So that is a kind of different setup. Our vision for TK here in Simi Valley Unified is that Universal Transitional Kindergarten provides equitable access to the foundations of academic and social learning through developmentally appropriate and engaging activities. In other words, our goal is that by the end of TK, students are ready for kindergarten, that we have developed those foundational skills of learning. So we are as concerned about the social emotional piece. Are they ready? Do they know how to sit? Do they know how to listen, et cetera? And you'll hear more about that a little bit later, but we're as concerned about those skills as we are about some of their letters and other things, okay? And again, we want students to be ready for kindergarten. This program, as just a note, is not offered through school of choice, okay? So that is also a big distinction. Students will be enrolled at the district office, and then they're placed at the schools offering the Universal Transitional Kindergarten program. We currently have 17 schools, and that includes Justin Early Learners Academy, who have UTK programs. We do, when you register at the district, we do consider what is your neighborhood school and the location of your home, as well as sibling enrollment, okay? But again, you enroll at the district office, not at individual school sites. Another quick note, our UTK students do attend school on the same bell schedule as all elementary schools in K through 6. So they are there the whole day. Those first couple weeks, it will seem long for the children, and that's okay. By this time in the year, they're absolutely completely adjusted and they are enjoying their day. There is no nap time. I know that has been a current question, and but the day is scheduled to meet developmental needs, meaning they have time to play in more organized play. They have time to play in more free play. They have time that is more restful and time that is more high energy. So the teachers do manage that very well. And so those are just a few of the aspects of our program. And we are now Jake, we can just kind of look at that. What we want are those students to feel comfortable in school. We want them to be confident. We want them to know how to be strong learners, how to do school. We want them to develop their academics, their emotional, their physical skills, all of those things. So we want students to be well-rounded throughout their day. We want them also to be problem solvers and to enjoy school and to enjoy learning. Can you get me to the next there? There we go. We also want them to gain an understanding of, to help gain an understanding of the age-appropriate milestones and expectations for children. So we have, again, we fall back on those preschool foundational skills. We want them to be, we want parents to be active partners with our school. We want them to understand the programs and resources we have, and of course, to develop a lifelong community of peers to support the continued development of their children and their children's learning experience. Okay. Remember, please, that you as parents are your child's first teacher, and it is so fundamental that we do have parent involvement in the classroom and also at home, and also just that we understand we're all kind of in this together to support the education of the child. And I'm going to introduce Lori Carricker. She is the coordinator of Justin Elementary School, or Justin Early Learners Academy, and she is going to do the next part.
Welcome. It's nice to have so many parents here. Yes, I am at Justin Early Learners Academy, which is the preschool for children with special needs. And we have two UTKs at our school, and I'm the coordinator for early childhood education. So my job encompasses all of the TKs that we have. Our program is modeled on the California Preschool Learning Foundations and not kindergarten standards. And so we work for developmentally appropriate instruction. So that means hands-on instruction. Children learn by touching, and if they can hold it in their hands, they can hold it in their head. So the teachers do a lot of experiences to get them ready for kindergarten. We have asked many kindergarten teachers and looked at kindergarten standards to discuss what a kindergarten teacher ideally would like a child from TK to walk into kindergarten, and what would you like them to do? And they would like them to be able to listen and follow directions and sit on the rug and listen to stories and talk about those stories and play with each other and be social. So as April said, it is the first year of a 2-year program, and all of our curriculum aligns with the standards that they'll meet when they go to kindergarten, but we do it in a developmentally appropriate way. So as you can see here, these are all of the things that the children do throughout their day. We definitely focus a lot on their social emotional development, because if they can't play with each other nicely, take turns, share, be empathetic, then it's hard to learn. So we want them to feel safe and welcomed in their classroom. And all the rest of the things just fall into place. Most of our children by now are understanding that letters have sounds, and they play with blocks. So they learn physics with their blocks, they learn engineering, they learn how to interact with each other. So all of these things they are exposed to, and we're trying to prepare them for the next grade. Fun stuff.
So at this time, I would like to introduce Allison Howell. She is one of our current TK teachers at Arroyo Elementary, to talk a little bit about what the day looks like, and more from the classroom perspective.
And I know Mr. Gerard is here too. He can help me.
Oh, perfect. Sorry, I couldn't get on the screen.
Too.
Thank you, Mr. Gerard. Mr. Gerard is a TK teacher currently at Parkview.
Okay, we can go to the next one, please. Thank you. All right, so these are just some highlights of our UTK program. The first one that I wanted to touch on was a lot of our learning takes place through play-based learning, which, as has been said before, is a lot of hands-on experiences, letting the child kind of guide the learning with the teacher there to facilitate, and help them ask questions, to think deeper, to become critical thinkers, but a lot of hands-on learning, which is very cool to see them experience that and watch them develop their play. It's been amazing since August to now how their play has developed. So it's very hands-on and lets them explore the world around them. Because of this, we're able to provide a variety of different ways to the curriculum topics, such as English language arts, math, and what was previously stated, but in a more fun way that sometimes they don't even realize they're learning. Because it's, sensory bins with letters or math games or different things that they can touch and feel to be able to developmentally appropriately take in information. Our children are so eager to learn and are so easy to soak up that information for them that it just comes naturally. And then before you know it, they're shocking you with what they've learned. And I cheer for them every day. I get so excited. And then lastly, again, that has been stated, our goal is to prepare them for kindergarten, focusing on how to be a student. A big thing is how can we sit on a rug? How can we sit next to somebody else, have our own space, and be able to verbally say that and express our emotions in a positive way to get our point across and to have us feel heard and our friends also hear us. We focus on those peer relationships, building friendships and taking turns and going one at a time, all that fun stuff, playing games, rules establishing, and those kind of things, especially focusing on those peer relationships, because when they can work together, even more learning can happen, and allows that growth to be done. And then again, classroom expectations. It's very different than being at home, to sit on a rug, to listen to a story, to follow a different schedule. So helping them set up those classroom expectations, routines, where's the bathroom, how do I use it, making sure the door's shut, all those fun things that might be a little bit different at home. Mr. Gerard, did you want to add anything before we go on?
Yes, I was just going to emphasize the word of play-based learning, that play-based learning, some people may think of it as just play, but play-based learning can be encompassed upon so many different ways inside of a classroom. You can go to the schedule real quick. So like in a daily schedule at our schools, we have like our morning meeting, we have our centers. In those center times, when we do our play-based learnings and everything like that, in my classroom, we do structural ideas of engineering. They're building with blocks. They're counting with those blocks. They're looking at the shapes. They're looking at colors. You have your English language development in those. You have counting. You have tactile, the structure, the texture of the blocks. Just from one activity, they can learn so much through just play. And it's a fantastic program. I'm so glad to be part of it. And it's just a wonderful thing to be doing.
So this is an example of my schedule that we do at Arroyo. A morning meeting that Mr. Gerard mentioned is just a way to touch base with the students. How are you feeling this morning? Is there anything you want to share with the class? That's when we do a lot of our singing as well. So it's getting in touch with them, getting them ready for school, so they don't feel like they go in right off the bat. And then next, for the first part of my day, my centers are structured. So I tell them, we're going in this order. This is my expectations of each center, what your goal is that you should produce or do or be thinking of, and then how can you take it from there. We do have snack and recess. and then story time like normal. And then whenever you see the word free choice centers, that's where my paraeducator, we have a full-time paraeducator, I'm not sure if that was mentioned, but a second person who is with us all day. So we put out choice activities for them, and my students can stay inside, they can come outside, they can go toggle back and forth in between. So that's what those mean when you see free choice centers. And then designated like outside playtime, we have to wait before we come inside, before we do dismissal. PE is also in here. This is just my daily general schedule of what a rough part of our day looks like. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it over to Lori.
Okay, so there are a lot of things you can do to prepare for this first day of school, and you have all these months to do it. I think if, as a parent, if you think and observe through the day with your child, how much are you doing for them and how much are they doing for themselves? Because when they get to TK, they have to do this by themselves. They need to unbutton their sweaters. They need to unzip their jackets. They need to know how to take them off, put them on. They need to know where to put them. They need to know how to unzip their backpacks, pull out their lunch boxes. I mean, I can see it in my head every day. They walk in with their backpack, they take it off, they unzip it. Some kids come to TK, they can't unzip their own backpack. They can't unzip or take apart their lunchbox. And that's something that you can slowly work on through these months. Do they know how to stick the straw into a juice box? And it's things that they can learn how to do by themselves. What are the containers like that they're bringing to school for lunch? Can they open them themselves and close them themselves? They want to be independent and they don't want to depend on the para and the teacher to do it for them. Using the restroom, are they wearing clothes that are easy to take down, pull up? Do they know how to take care of their needs in the bathroom? Because again, no one is going in there with them. They do need an extra set of clothing, and as the weather changes from August to June, it's nice to change that set of clothing to be more appropriate for the kind of weather we have. We have a lot of summer clothes that need to be changed to winter clothes. Practice with them with crayons and scissors. You don't have to teach them how to hold a pencil. We discourage the children to be writing with pencils right now, but there are so many ways that you can strengthen their hands, playing catch with them, using Play-Doh, scissors, squeezing all their little, hand things, everything that you can do that strengthens their hands. It's easy to Google ideas for that, because then they'll be more ready. If you are using crayons, it's a great idea for their finger grasp is to break the crayons in half, and then they have to pinch the crayon and not hold the crayon. And we're working on a lot of pincer grasps. So did I miss anything?
I want to mention one more thing. When we think about eating, I want you as parents to kind of consider how your children eat at home. Do they just kind of graze by the kitchen a little bit? Do they eat a little bit, watch a little bit of TV, eat, play, take another couple bites? Because that's not how school works. So I know it was really difficult in August for the students to sit down and eat all at one time in the 20 minutes that they have. So some of them had just gotten themselves comfortable, but hadn't quite started when we were ready to transition to the next activity. And that seems kind of silly, but it's so important for them to sit at a table, to have the food in front of them, and to eat it all at one time in a small amount of time, just because that is a hard transition. And then they're in tears because all of their friends are leaving and all they did was take one bite of their food. Okay, so that's a simple thing as well that you can kind of start practicing.
Could I just quickly, I just want to quickly mention one thing about for first day of school. as students go into the first day of school and for the first week, first month, I just want to let all the parents and families know that your kids are the most amazing at adjustments for the first time at school. I've had students where first day they are in tears, second day they're ready to go the next day. They're just boom, done, ready to go. And they learn so fast at how to learn repetition, adjusting to rules. It's fabulous. I just want to mention that it's always going to be okay.
I want to mention one more thing is to please label everything. Their water bottle, their lunchbox. In one class, the kids label their snack because their snacks all go into one container and then they, take their snack out for snack time. And without their names on things, their jackets, their extra clothes, everything you can think of, their shoes. If you label them with their name, just use a Sharpie, or they sell those iron-on things that you can put on their clothes. It saves so much time in the classroom when we hold up. They've never seen their jacket before, by the way. You bought it, they've worn it, and then you hold it up and say, whose jacket is this? And nobody knows whose jacket it is. So labeling can save lots of time in a classroom, lots of frustration.
We get about 6 or 7 Spider-Man jackets on the first day of school.
All right. And as we go through this part, I know there were many questions about eligibility and enrollment, so hopefully we will address many of those questions as we go through. One thing I do want to add, as you were hearing the different ideas and things like that, we do have TK orientations. We also have back to school nights. So again, these things will be covered. They'll talk about what that day looks like. You'll talk about the goals of that classroom, and so those will also be part of a TK orientation and back to school night with your child's teacher. So right now we're going to go through the eligibility and the enrollment. I want to start with our current 22-23 school year. So right now, it was as April mentioned, it was part of an expansion that we opened the window ahead of what the state had rolled out as their implementation plan. And we opened the UTK program to all students turning 4 by September 1st of 2022. Basically, that gave us the whole year round. And in that timeline, we had 550 students placed. Currently, we are operating 24 UTK classrooms across our district at 16 of our 18 elementary schools. We also, as Lori mentioned, at her school have 2 TK classrooms located there. On 6 of our campuses, we do have 2 classrooms. So on those other campuses, we just have the 1. As Allison mentioned, each of our classrooms is staffed with a certificated teacher and a paraprofessional. Our UTK teachers are an amazing group of educators who work together daily. And so when we talk about their planning and their purpose of this program, they have really worked together to make this the strong and successful program that it is. Checking in with each other, coming up with ideas and best practices, wonderful games or activities or things that are shared amongst the different teachers and in their planning and their purpose for the success of your children. So when we look at next year, the 23-24 UTK enrollment information, we are opening this to all students who will turn 4 by September 1st of, that should actually be 2024. So one of the questions was the difference between JK and TK. So when we look at JK, these are students that were born between July 1st and September 1st of that will be 5 between July 1st and September 1st of 2023. These students do fit the criteria to enroll in kindergarten. However, if you feel that they are eligible for UTK, they are welcome to enroll, but they cannot have participated in a UTK program previously. We will not be having 2 years of TK or retaining any TK students. As you heard, this is a first year of a 2-year program for kindergarten. So we talk about play-based and we talk about meeting the needs of our students. And so if we have students within that July 1st to September 1st of 2023 who will turn 5, they are eligible for our UTK as long as they have not previously participated. Starting on September 2nd of 2023, all the way around to September 1st of 2024, that is where students will be eligible to, as they turn 5, sorry, that's where it's the turn 4 by September 1st, 2023. The enrollment process is handled at the district office, not at the school sites. So we have at our district office, when you walk in, we have a front lobby in which you will be able to either pick up an enrollment packet or, as we'll share in a little bit, will be available on our website. From 8 to 3:30 daily, you will be able to come to our district office to pick those up or to enroll. Please note, we will begin on January 27th, which is Friday. The reason being, we do have a kindergarten parent night on Thursday, and we want to make sure we've addressed all the questions, and then we will start the enrollment process. As April mentioned previously, it is not a school of choice process. We do look at siblings, we do look at your home schools, but again, we are not able to guarantee because we are limited by the space and availability. Our neighborhood schools, as I just mentioned, and our sibling enrollment are considerations, but again, they cannot be guarantees. Our hope is to provide you with easy access to the campus you access, but again, we do have to make sure we're looking at our facilities and our class sizes as well. As the demand and capacity increases, we could establish more classrooms. Again, this will be based on enrollment as we go through the process. So we'll go ahead and go to the next one. As we talk about our enrollment steps, they will be posted on our website. So as I mentioned, you will be able to pick up a hard copy of the packet here at the district office, or you can download the packet from our website. We are always here to answer any questions for you as you continue through this enrollment process. And we also have a district website dedicated, as you can see here on this slide, that will provide you the information. As Jake mentioned in the very beginning of this presentation, we did record this and we'll post it on the district website so that we have easy access and you can review it if you need to. Go ahead and go to the next one. When you come to fill out an application or pick up an application and an enrollment packet for your child, what is listed here are the things we will need in order to complete that initial enrollment. In order for us to move forward with the enrollment process for your UTK student, we do need the enrollment form. We will need a clear copy of an original birth certificate, a copy of your proof of residency, and it does need to be within Simi Valley. These are your utility bills. It could be gas, water, electric, a lease agreement, mortgage, any of those things that prove that residency. We also need a copy of your child's current immunizations. Now, as we talk about this, we know that some of you will be visiting a doctor, they might have an appointment coming up, but we do need proof of what those immunizations are to this point when you fill out the enrollment process. These are the things that will be required in that immunization. These are the same requirements as a student who is starting kindergarten. We do need all of these to be completed by the first day of school, and we need verification of those in order for your child to start on the first day. If we do not have these, we cannot have them start school on the first day. We do need to have, as you can see here, all the different immunization requirements, and we want to make sure that we don't have to exclude anyone from the first day of school. Okay, we know that some of them will not be done, as I said before, when you first enroll, but you will then continue to be in communication with the school site that your child's placed at for them to be able to get the requirements met so that we can start on the first day of school. Go ahead. There were some questions about the cutoff date for applications and enrollment. Our hope is to start forming classes and be able to communicate with you in April. In order for that to be done, we do need the bulk of our enrollment. So our priority enrollment is until Friday, March 24th, 2023. This will provide you the best opportunity to be placed at your neighborhood or sibling attended. Again, it cannot be guaranteed based on the class size or the classroom space. After March 24th, 2023, then the placement would be based on the availability of space remaining.
Can I just add to that again?
Yes, of course.
The district, we worked so hard last summer and into the fall to place students where it worked best for parents, for their neighborhood school where their siblings were. We really did work hard, but there is that kind of tight enrollment. So I really do encourage you to get the application in by March 24th. We will continue to try to accommodate you the best we can, but it is so much easier if we really understand how many students we have and where they would like to be by that March 24th deadline. There's no guarantees, but just know, please, that we work very hard to make that happen.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Jake at this time to talk about a few other key components.
Hi there. I'm sure many of you are curious about before and after school care. All of our elementary schools have after school care. I think that most of them have before school care. The way that these programs work is they are actually run by 3 different organizations in town: the YMCA, the Rancho Simi Parks and Rec, also known as the Park District, and the Boys and Girls Club of Moore Park and Simi. So each school has one of these organizations leading those programs. These are not district programs. We provide them with the space, however that's worked out, but they are in charge of setting the fees and the parameters for their programs. So if you have questions about what those are, you're going to need to go directly to them. But as I said, all of them have these programs. I also wanted to mention that all of our schools have before and have breakfast and lunch, and all meals as of right now are still free to students. So if that's something that you're interested in, we have that in place. And we wanted to talk briefly about safety. You may have more questions about that we can get into a little more detail, but all of our elementary campuses are closed. All visitors get fielded through the main office, and they have to come in. And as of this month, and next month, we are launching a new security system called Raptor. Raptor is software that allows us to scan a visitor's identification. This has to be a formal piece of identification, and then it goes into a database. And if there are any flags on that visitor, such as any special registries they may be on as court mandated, it will tell us this, and then we have a process in place for handling that in the offices. So everybody that comes onto our campuses now must register at the front office. If you're just dropping things off in the office, we don't need you to register. But if you're going to be there, especially if you're volunteering, for instance, you'll be doing this system. And once you're in the system, it does carry over to the other campuses, but we have to get you in there initially. So if you've got any questions or concerns about that, you'll be able to ask at each of the schools that you're going to, and they'll be able to give you more information. We will have more specific information also at the orientations and the back to school nights. And in terms of the starting times for the schools and the dismissal times, all of those schedules are on each school's website. It's a good starting point if you're looking at this year's for next year's. You need to understand they may vary a little bit, but usually they're within a few minutes of that window. They're based on the bus schedules. We do have buses for special needs children. And so we arrange the schedules for the starting times and dismissals around that. So you can check on the school's websites, and then they'll be updated with the most current times over the summer.
Could I add one thing, Jake, to
Sure.
the after-school programs?
Mhm.
Okay, the district has received funding from the state for expanded learning and after-school care and supervision and services are included in that. If you think you might be eligible for free and reduced lunch, for example, even if lunches are currently not needing that documentation, I do advise you to do it because there would be scholarship opportunities to these programs based on various criteria, but one of them is free and reduced lunch.
Awesome. So the previous slide just gave you some direct contact information. Ana Maria Portillo is Mrs. Taggart's assistant, and she is wonderful and amazing to talk to. And she's you'll be your primary contact for turning in your enrollment forms and then following up on them. And as was said before, we're looking to start placing children into classes in April. And our website has a lot of information as well that you'll be able to go back to. So I'm going to turn now to our questions unless anybody had anything to add.
I have a few things from there to add just to clarify a couple things. I know that there were some questions about the proof of residency, excuse me. If you are in a rent situation or sharing or living with parents or whatever the situation might be, at that point you can have someone write a letter that you are living with them and you can provide the proof of residency. We do need that proof of residency and applications for all incoming TK students. Even if you have a sibling or have already submitted, that will need to go with the enrollment form when it comes to the district office. Any inter-district transfers or need to be run through our inter-district process, which can be found on our website as well. There was also a question I know about Jella and the after-school program. Currently, there is not an after-school program housed on campus. That does not mean there won't be next year, but at this time there isn't. And so we didn't have it listed on the slide.
All right, so I'm going to field some questions for our panelists, and if some of your questions have already been answered, so I may be taking you off of the question list if you're watching that. This question is, if a family needs after-school care, will that be considered in-school placement? And I know that not all offered on campus is the question.
At this time, our first priorities become siblings and homeschool. We do take other considerations if we are able to accommodate them. Again, nothing is a guaranteed placement because of the spacing in the facilities.
I have a mom who'd like to know if there will be a grace period for children who missed the 9/1 deadline by 3 days. So I'm assuming the birthday might be 9/4.
So our cutoff is September 2nd in terms of looking at before for going accessing kindergarten and after for accessing UTK. It is a cutoff and we understand that there are people born on the day, there are people born right after the day, but we do follow these guidelines as are given to us. And this is the date that determines whether it's kindergarten or UTK. All of our teachers, whether they are 1 day after the cutoff or 5 days after the cutoff, all of our teachers work with the students individually. And so if your child is I know that I saw something on here about letters and sounds or things like that. All of that's going to be worked into the program just as they would in any other grade. We always have a wide range of our students as they're entering, and our teachers do a fantastic job of meeting the needs of each of those students. They're going to get to know your child. They're going to get to know their strengths, their areas of growth, and they're going to target specific things that will help to address that and continue to have them growing and learning. As we said, these are our youngest learners, and we're preparing them for their future schooling. And so they're going to continue to provide those opportunities for the students throughout the school year.
This question, if my son is already enrolled attending JALA, do I still need to complete a TK package?
That would be specific in terms of what they're attending and what that looks like. So that would be a conversation you're welcome to call JALA and talk to them in the office, or you can call us.
If your child has siblings and are already SVUSD students, do we have to provide proof of residency again?
Yes, proof of residency is required with our enrollment packet.
I heard Vista and Hollow Hills were at Justin this past year. I have an older child at Vista. I don't see that Justin has school tours. Will they be offering tours this year so I can see the classroom?
So that will be something that you will call to set up with the schools. We do have opportunities for tours. Again, we cannot guarantee placement, but if you are interested in looking at a program, you can call the school to set that up with them. As you stated this year, that was part of our placement. Again, it's not guaranteed necessarily for next year. We will have a better idea once we have enrollments coming in.
I would prefer my son not be the youngest in his class. His birthday is in August. Can he do TK in 2024?
I'd have to have a little bit more information. So you're welcome to call me and have that information. Based on this year, we do have the JK opportunity for our students. It may become more of a case-by-case basis. So that's a conversation I'm happy to have with you. And I actually clicked on one accidentally, so I just want to answer it so that we make sure. Next year, school does start on Thursday, August 10th. And so usually, as we mentioned, you'll hear hopefully your placement in April. Then you will start to get communications from the school site. So once you're placed at a school site, then you will start to get communications from them probably in June, and looking ahead to August for our TK orientations. You'll get information about maybe missing immunizations and turning different things in there. So that would be upcoming as we go through, but the start of school for next year for all of our students is Thursday, August 10th.
Mrs. Taggart, I'm seeing a couple of more recent questions we answered this once before, but maybe you can reiterate that there is not an after-school program at Justin right now, correct?
Currently, there is not. No, it will be something that we look at based on need and providing the opportunity. We have wonderful community partners, as you saw in the list of after school and before school programs. Currently, there is not one there right now.
And I'm also seeing some recent questions, even though this was answered. The enrollment forms for TK are going to be available on the website to be downloaded by Friday, the 27th, and they will also be available at the district office. You will not be able to complete those forms online because we need to verify the documentation that goes with the packet. So you're going to have to bring those forms into us so that way we can go through and make sure that we've got all the accurate documentation. We don't want to have to bring you in a second time. So that's why we do that. Somebody has asked if a TB tuberculosis test is required.
Currently on the, I don't have the list right in front of me, but just the immunizations that were listed were the ones that are required. And when you come to pick up the enrollment packet, we do have those listed out for you. So you have the specifics as to which ones they are.
We live in the East Simi with our family. We don't have a utility bill or lease agreement, but our vehicles are registered to our address. What are our options?
So again, it does have to be something utility based. And so that would be something where if there is somebody in the household that has them to the name, they can write a letter to state that you are living with them and provide proof in that way. We also can look at other options in terms of the escrow papers or looking at lease agreements or whatever it might be. So it does have to be something officially linked to that place of residency.
I'm seeing several questions about the oral assessments and dental forms. If somebody would like to answer the need for those, please.
I'll keep going. The oral assessment is will be given to you in your packet. We know that that is something that many students throughout the year then end up visiting the dentist. So it is not required to start, but it is something that is required by kindergarten. So what will happen is if it's not been an appointment, you will get reminders about it as they are rolling over into kindergarten. But again, it is not required to start the school year. The requirements that we will need to start the school year are the enrollment form, the birth certificate, the proof of residency, and the completed immunizations. I did see one question about dropping something off and then dropping something off in January and then March. We do need the completed packet when you turn it in at the district office. The only thing that would be then given to the school sites if you are finishing your rounds of your vaccinations. That further documentation could be given to the school sites, but because of the high volume, as we said, we had 550 enrollment packets this year. Because of the high volume, we do need them packaged together so that we can ensure that your documents stay together and we have them placed appropriately.
I have a question that maybe one of our teachers would like to answer. In the classroom setting, what do the centers include?
So centers, it would depend on the day, the scenario, the theme that we have. We have units that we like to address in the classroom, but the basics that we like to do in our classes is we want to make sure that we're providing social emotional development. We want to have some English language development, as well as mathematics skills. Those are usually like the three basics that we really want for our activities with our students. So when we're doing activities and tabletops, those things, we try to emphasize those three key things into our classes while we're following our foundational skills. So I kind of talked about a little bit with the math, with like the blocks as a play-based learning activity. Whereas when we do our English language development, we like to do fun activities using our curriculum called Zoophonics, which we like doing motions to make sounds with our students. And in my class, we do puppets with those. So the kids actually make their own puppets with that base. So they're drawing, they're cutting, they're gluing, they're doing all these activities, but they're also learning the sounds with these Zoophonics. So we do, as an example, when I'm talking about Zoophonics is we have like the letter A for alligator. So we take our hands and we do this with our mouths. We go ah, 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 emphasizing the A sound for alligator and doing that movement. So in our activity, we do that, and then we make a puppet with that, and then we have the little puppet, and then all the kids practice with ah, ah. So they practice that with home too.
Sorry, there are a lot of questions on enrollment forms. So let me just repeat the website address where you'll see that. Actually, I'm going to flip back to it. Hang on a second. Okay, our website is showing right there, www.simivalleyusd.org. And then the specific site is /kinderinfo, KINDERINFO. There are also links on the home page, and there will be a more prominent link as of Friday when I've got the enrollment pages up there. So again, you'll be able to download them, but these are not online forms. They have to be turned in. I have a parent who's asking about a child who has multiple food allergies and requires an EpiPen. There was concern about the comment that all the snacks get placed into the shared bin, and they want to know if the allergies will be accommodated.
That's not for all schools. Like my kids, theirs are in their lunch pails, but I'm sure they would if that teacher did that.
Absolutely. So we,
yeah.
as a school site, we take any information on any health issues and we accommodate those health issues. So that would be one where the office would be aware, the teacher would be aware, and of course we would have accommodations in place to be watchful for that, so that first of all, we avoid any kind of incident where there is contamination. And then second of all, if it does happen to have it, we are prepared to intervene. So absolutely, positively. any kind of issue that the student has that's medical and we need to be aware of so that we can accommodate appropriately.
Yeah, please update us always on the medical for your child. It's the most easiest way for us to solve these types of situations and preventing them from ever happening. Is the more that we know, the more we're prepared.
And I'll add that at the beginning of each school year for our parents who are new coming into our district, you'll be asked to update all of your ARIES information. ARIES is our student information system. And hopefully before the start of every school year, you are jumping on there for every child you have with us. And you're updating emergency contact information and you're updating the health information. And that is vitally important. This is what we turn to when a child has a health issue to make sure that we can help you manage their health care. So you'll be seeing those reminders every school year while we have you. There is a question about if there are not enough spaces for a class, is there a wait list? Are they placed elsewhere? How does the overflow work if this happens?
So what that will happen is we will, as we mentioned, we will hope to start forming classes in April, which is why we really would like as many applications as possible in March. I know I saw some questions about where will classes be? Will they still maintain the current schedule? Unfortunately, until we see the enrollment, we can't make those guesses. We hope to continue them all in the same fashion. But again, we want to make sure, or we need to make sure that we are staffing them and that we have the appropriate placement as according to our ratios and as well as for the facilities. So as we get those enrollment applications, then we will look at them. What will then happen based on, I'm going to share with you what happened last year, is that you will be offered a place. Again, we do look at siblings and we do look at your home school. That's not to say, though, that that's guaranteed. If we have 35 students and we only have 24 spaces, then we do conduct more of a lottery. And so we do randomly then place for those remaining spots after the priority. When we look at those, even if you are priority and we have too many spots, it will then be based on a random lottery. It does not matter if you turn them in sooner or later. That is important to note. We will take them at that batch in March and start to do our placement from there. When you are offered a spot in April, you will get that communication giving you the spot of where your child was placed. At that time, if you have other requests, then you'll have a couple options. You can take the placement, you can request another school, and then you may be placed on a wait list. However, if you were to decline the other and be placed on a wait list, there is no way we could guarantee that you would be able to get in that year. So those are conversations that would happen as we roll out the placements in April. Again, we try our best to accommodate all of them, but we are limited on the ratios and the facilities. So again, those would be things that do occur in April. There are waiting lists that are formed, especially if you are hoping to only go to one specific site. Then we would form a waiting list and maintain that throughout the summer, throughout as we start the school year.
Somebody has asked if there is homework in TK.
So homework is a optional kind of situation in TK. It's not something that we give handouts to and just expect students to be doing. TK is as we said, play-based learning experience. So if there was an assignment given to students during school hour, after school hours, it would generally be something that would incorporate the playful experience, like explaining to the family about what they learned at school. Sometimes I like to do a counting lesson with them, like when the children set the table at the house, how many forks are set at the table, how many spoons. So activities like that that emphasize on the play-based idea, and but not necessarily just a handout kind of thing. Some schools, may have a little handout for the children to do, but TK homework would be an optional situation. It's not something that is a mandatory thing on school sites.
But reading to your child every night is a fabulous bonus.
Absolutely.
I love this question. How will drop off and pick up work since parents will need to park and get kids out of car seats and walk kids to class? Will there be enough parking available at the schools? Maybe one of our principals can answer that.
Yes. Can you read that one again? I was typing an answer when you were reading the whole thing. So I
No,
wanna make sure I get
no
it all.
How will drop off and pick up work since parents will need to park to get kids out of car seats and walk kids to class? Will there be enough parking available at the schools?
So I can speak for Township, where I am the principal. There's a church across the street and they allow us to use that parking lot. If you need to get your child out of a car seat, my suggestion would be that you park your car either on the street at the school or in some designated parking outside of the school. The parking lot is for teachers and staff members to be parking, so that would not be an option. And you do not want to park along the curb where parents are driving through to drop their kids off. There'll be a lot of horn honking if you do that. So you want to get your child out of the car safely, then I would find a place to park if that's an issue with having to get them out of the car seat. And we do honestly recommend, especially at the beginning, that you do walk your child up at least to the gate. We don't have parents coming on the yard except the first day of school. So I would suggest that for the little ones that you actually do park and walk them up. That answer that question?
Somebody asked how many pages there are in the enrollment packet. I'm guessing maybe because you have to print them. There are, I'm looking at one in here. I want to say there's probably about 10 or 12 pages here. If you're having trouble with the printing, you can come and pick them up at the district office. So we have plenty of packets ready for you here, so you don't have to print them. Somebody would like to know, are the restrooms in the classroom or nearby? And will the students be accompanied to the restroom?
The TK students do have restrooms in their restrooms in their classrooms.
And as an adjunct to that question, the TK kids are, along with the kindergarten children, are separated from the rest of the schools. That's state law. So they have separate facilities. When I say facilities, I mean their playgrounds and their classrooms. That's one of the reasons why we're limited on space, because we've already got schools with all the kindergartens in place. So we have to make sure we have room in the appropriate places for the TKs.
And let me add though, there is situations where they do go to lunch together, but they have their separate, tables or, and then they go to their yards. We do look at the playgrounds to make sure they're age appropriate. So there are moments where they do play together or plan, or have some, maybe a PE together. But again, as Mrs. Neiman mentioned, they do have their rooms that currently have the bathrooms within them.
I'm getting a lot of questions about school tours. Let me let you know that in the month of February, every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., every elementary school is holding tours, and you can show up at the school and go on that tour. If that time and day does not work over those 4 Tuesdays in February, call the school and the principal will do everything he or she can to make accommodations to show you around. So we try to make it as easy as we can, but if that timing doesn't work, do call them. Somebody asked about if there are grades in TK.
We do have a reporting. We want to always communicate progress to you. So there is a current TK report card that is based on foundational skills, as you heard Lori mention, referencing back. We also, though, have lots of opportunities to share your child's progress. In the fall, you will meet with your child's teacher for a fall conference and be able to talk about what the year will look like, the goals for your child. There is another opportunity upon request in the spring for our families, and also to meet with any families that we may want to talk about their areas of growth and ways to further support their child. There is also, as I mentioned, then a report card. Right now, currently, the report card is sent out in January and then in June as well. Each teacher has a variety of ways that they share children's progress. So that would be something that would be more specifically covered at a back to school night when the teacher talks about what their classroom looks like and the routines and procedures of that classroom.
We have had a couple of questions about the logistics around dropping off and picking up multiple children. So if you've got kids at 2 different schools, they want to know what's the best way to handle this.
And there's no one answer. Knowing right now, I currently have children at 3 different schools. So I understand, which is why we try our best to give priority, as we said, to siblings and then also homeschools, so that it is close to your house or that it is one drop off. What will be possible is looking at all the options. When school starts, let's say school starts at 8 o'clock. The campus supervision and the gates may open at 7:40. So some of it is just looking at what's going to work best, whether you drop off an older child and then drop off your younger later. It just depends on what time the school starts. For most schools, the closer you get to the bell, the busier it's going to be. So if you give yourself time, then it's usually a pretty smooth drop off and pick up as well. So again, it does depend on the times that you're looking at. We do try to help as best we can with that, but it will be something just to kind of fine tune as you figure out your child's placement.
I have a quick question I can answer, and Erin, you can add to it if I'm not complete. What's the difference between JK and TK? The program is the same. The classroom is the same. What's different is the child's birth date, but they're going to be in the same classroom. So essentially nothing is different about it. It's just the child's birth date. That's how we classify them. We have a lot of questions about cutoff dates and if there's a leeway of a day or two. Can we answer that again generally? Because there are a lot of questions on that one.
Sure. It is the cutoff date that is provided to us. We do have to go by that date when we look at whether a student starts kindergarten. I understand if it's the day after that you feel like it's right there at that day, but that is our cutoff date. As I mentioned, our teachers do a fantastic job of providing the students what it is they need, regardless of their birthday. If they need some enrichment, they do a wonderful job providing that. And so when we look at those dates, we do go by that specific date. If your child's birth date falls after that date, then they are eligible for UTK, but not kindergarten. As we progress throughout the years, if you feel that your child has progressed at a rate in which you feel an acceleration would be appropriate, that's a conversation to have at the school site once they're in kindergarten. When we talk about UTK, again, this is developing the foundational skills of our youngest learners and providing them this rich opportunity in which they will continue to grow as they progress throughout the grade levels. As I said, it's also a 2-year program. So when we start UTK and your child participates in that UTK program, then they will go to a traditional kindergarten the 2nd year of that program.
I'm going to answer this one just to be very clear. Somebody has asked if they fill out an application for TK, would they also be able to enter the fundamental school lottery? If you're talking about for your TK child, there is no fundamental school lottery for that child. It is for siblings that are already in Hollow Hills or Vista. The application for Universal TK is coming into us and we will be placing them. There's no school of choice in that. So I hope that's clear. You would do the lottery in kindergarten. I get that right, everybody? Thank you. Okay. We've got a lot of questions again about Hollow Hills and Vista and if those children will be definitely going to Justin.
Did you say, will they definitely be going?
To Justin, if they've got siblings at home.
Currently, this year, that was the practice. Again, everything is dependent on enrollment. We cannot guarantee what that will look like. That is the practice that happened this year.
I really love this question. This is pretty good for the teachers. Is there any screen time during the school day?
Screen time, like we do songs and watch videos and dance like that. I would not let my 4-year-old touch a computer. So no, mine do not do that unless it has to do with some ELD stuff. But yes, we do have a projector that we can watch videos on, and it helps with our dancing. Because although I do have a great voice, they don't only want to hear that.
So the screen-based would also depend on the school site, because I know some school sites do. Ms. Tiger might be able to help me with this, with the technology implied into some schools, I believe, like Mountain View and some of those schools. But like for mine and Ms. Howell's classes, we don't use our laptops for that. We usually generally use a large screen for that is touchscreen based. So I do activities for them to use that for it. We do whole groups, as well as we do videos, sing-alongs, dances. So more activities like that. But it would depend, that answer would depend on the school site, I feel like, also.
Somebody would like to know if there are 1 or 2 classes for TK at Atherwood.
I think I answered that. There is, yes. So right now, as I said, it's 16 of our 18 elementary schools. Right now, there is currently no TK classroom at Vista or at Hollow Hills. And then we have 2 classes at our Justin Early Learners Academy. 6 of those campuses do house 2 TK classrooms. But again, 16 of our 18 elementary schools do have the UTK program.
A mom would like to know if her child shows advanced skills, will you evaluate and forward their placement if applicable?
That goes back to what we talked about. Right now, TK is a 2-year program. Those conversations about acceleration will be part of kindergarten if they feel that's appropriate. But right now, UTK is a 2-year program.
Somebody has asked a slightly different question about the oral assessment. If it's given with the completed UTK application, are they going to need it again for kindergarten?
At this time, I believe they have to have it 12 months in advance of the kindergarten, first day of kindergarten. So it just would depend on the timing of the appointment.
Somebody has asked if TK has children taking an examination at any time during the program. So I think they're asking about testing.
I'll answer that really quickly. There is assessment, but assessment looks different with 4 and 5-year-olds than it would with a 10 or 11-year-old, for example. So, and teachers, you can kind of go through this as well. There is assessments based on the foundational skills, but some of the foundational skills are speaking and listening. So you're having a conversation with your child. You're listening to them play and seeing, can they do an interchange of conversation that amounts to a conversation? That's an assessment that gives you great information for a 4 or 5-year-old that corresponds to the foundational skills. So that kind of assessment is critical. Do we have kids taking a paper pencil test? No, because they couldn't do it, nor would it give us really valid information at that level. So there is assessment, but it's developmentally appropriate. And it's a reflection of the foundational skills.
I have 2 different parents asking if we have any plans for a dual immersion program.
We do have conversations about a dual immersion program. We did send out a survey to our families this year, looking at the interest, looking at the availability, collecting feedback. So there are conversations about that and what that would look like in the next steps. So that would be something that we would communicate as we move through that process and analyze the survey data.
Okay, we're getting to the very end of the questions. I want to try to finish them and have us done in 5 minutes, which is 7:30. So if for some reason we don't catch your question or answer it adequately, please reach out to us tomorrow. We are available. Let's see. Somebody is asking about interdistrict transfers in regards to proof of residency. So there are two different issues there. An interdistrict transfer doesn't require a proof of residency in Simi Valley. It requires a release from your home district, and then we have to accept you here, which also means that we need to be able to ensure that we have room for your child. So it's a little bit more complicated than what our Simi Valley residents would be going through. And I would again suggest that you reach out to us separately so that we can be more specific with what's going on with your case. Somebody would like clarity one more time on probably Aaron on that JK piece, the kids born between July 1st and September 1st.
Sure.
Okay.
So if they are turning 5 between July 1st to September 1st of 2023, that means that they are considered a JK student. A JK student or students born within that time period are eligible to attend kindergarten. However, we have kept the UTK program open to those students who would like to participate but have not previously participated in TK program. We will not be repeating TK or having 3 years of a kindergarten program. So if your child's birth date is turns 5 between July 1st to September 1st, you do have the option to enroll in kindergarten, or you do have the option to enroll in one of our UTK programs as long as they have not participated in a previous. After that, from September 2nd around to September 1st, if they're turning 4 within that time period, then it would be our UTK program. Excuse me, turning 5 all the way through the 4. Sorry, I know I keep flipping them and I don't want to confuse anybody. So September 2nd, all the way around to September 1st, anytime they're turning 5 within that piece of it. But after September 2nd, that does go into the UTK. So even if they turn 5 on September 3rd, they will be enrolled in our UTK program.
Somebody would like to know how absent or sick days are handled. Maybe one of our principals can speak to that.
When your child is absent, you need to call the school to let them know. I know a lot of schools have different ways that they handle it. I know we have a link that you can go on and you can report the absence that way. You do have 5 days to clear an absence. If you don't clear it within those 5 days, then your student is considered truant. So you always want to make sure that you call in an absence.
And I just answered the last question directly. So it looks like we are done with questions. Erin, do you want to wrap us up?
I just want to thank everyone for joining us. As we've stated, the applications will be available starting Friday. You can come and pick them up. They are available on the district website for you to download, whichever is easiest. We are here to answer questions. We know it's a lot of information. We also know you might be brand new to our Simi Valley schools, and so we are here to help and offer any information we can. There are valuable resources on our website that you can access under our kindergarten programs, and that will provide you information about cutoff dates. That will provide you information about the criteria for enrollment. We also have other information on our website about after-school programs or any of the different offerings for our Simi Valley schools. So I would like to thank you. I want to be sure to thank all of our panelists. We appreciate your input and your help. We have wonderful schools, and these are a great sampling of these wonderful schools that we have. So I want to thank you for that, and thank you for joining us this evening.